Ngā mihi atu ki a koutou, ki te mihi atu Māori. Kia ora, my name is Barney Wikitera. I'm 24 plus 16. So I'm not on a youth panel. I think my chair is youth challenge. Or everyone's saying youth adjacent. But that's my name. How I fell into the space that I'm in, goes back to a long story. That's probably another panel. Just a young man growing up west, born and raised Westie. I was at school. I wanted to become a teacher. Loved working with young people. Wanted to be the teacher in other young people's lives that one of the teachers at my school was in my life. Started uni, ended up getting in some trouble with some of my mates that I grew up with. We were labelled a gang, but I guess media's like that. Any brown boys hanging around the streets in Auckland, whether they're doing good or bad, they're going to label you a gang. I wasn't in a gang, I was in a family grouping. Family grouping day. I was serious. We're family grouping, and all that. And then got in trouble, got sentenced to 9 years for unfortunately hurting someone that I regret every day of my life. And today, standing before you is just a long journey of a journey of redemption. Even though my faith journey has led me to say that it's okay, I'm already delivered. However, my works still need to catch up, and hence why I'm here today. I'm Māori on my mum's side. Shout out to Whanaunga, from Waiho up in past Pangaru and Here Kino in the far north on the west coast. And my dad is from the beautiful island of Niue in the Pacific, from the legendary strong villages of Alofi and Hukutawake. I know there's some Christians at the back about that, but and married to a beautiful wife, Lisa, who's in the front today, so my language will be spot on, and a beautiful daughter, Wairere, who was here last night. I didn't come last night. I was writing a report for the district court for one of our whānau that's going to court, and then at 10 o'clock I turned off my laptop, and then I was asking Lisa, I haven't done my speech for today or panel, and then she just said, just talk about what you know. I'm going to talk about what I know. So now I work with Turiki Healthcare as a kaimahi, so we work alongside Kane's Manukau Police, supporting our whānau going through the district court process. Outside of the district court process, which I love, they're not formally charged. That's my day job. And that's what I kind of feel that job funds my other passion, which is Maka Leadership Program, working with our rangatahi out in West Auckland, Henderson, and West Auckland, born and raised, and I'm proud of where I'm from. Been working out in South Auckland for the last 10 years, and I find myself feeling a part of South Auckland for the last few years. And plus I was married out in Manurewa. And once you get married in Manurewa, I think you marry Manurewa. Yeah, it feels like that, so I kind of roam around South more like I own it. So I have a good affiliation with that area as well. I'm going to talk about what I know. And I read the emails from Mary after I watched them in my inbox for a month about how do we nurture young leaders. And I thought about that last night when Lisa said, talk about what you know. And I just reflected on my time as a young person and those sort of spaces I found myself in where I learned the most, and how those sort of teachings have encouraged or led me to lead our young people that I walk alongside today, and how that works. So when I was growing up, I didn't have too many opportunities to spend close time with my dad. My dad was in and out of my life, which is another panel. But the moments that I do remember him being there and being in a positive space is during the process of umu or hangi making. I remember that was something that stuck out for me when I was younger, and I always loved it because I had my dad with me, had uncles, and I had my older brother who was at that time was a real strong role model for me. So I really enjoyed that time of my life, so those memories stuck out. And I remember those times when my dad used to come to the room and wake us up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. Get up, come out. You've got to come out, help set up the umu. You've got to help, get the rocks and the wood and the baskets ready. We've got to figure out what's going on for that day. And so I used to enjoy that because I got up with my brother. I didn't enjoy it because he missed the Sunday morning cartoons, because usually it was on a Saturday. So I missed all the Saturday morning cartoons, which was stink, but at least I got to spend time with my brother and my dad. And so there was always that discussion around prepping and around exploration, around discovery, around what resources we need for this all. And when I reflect on young people who come into our youth hub, I think about that, like, that's what we do. You know, we get our young people through the door, we talk about their dreams and aspirations, we reaffirm their talents, we talk about what their potential is, we talk about what their pathways are, we sit next to them and just kind of discover what their dreams and aspirations are. You know, we talk through the issues that they have with peer pressure, social media, and we try to bring to fore the resources they have and the potential they have as a young leader. And I think that relates to the umu process, you know? That's what we did. You had to realize what your skill set was, you had to rely you had to bring up what your roles were. And so when we think of young leaders, that's what we do in our place, in our space as well. And then I also remember when it's time to put the umu down. You know, it's a tense time for the tāne around the umu. You know, it's like, oh yeah, we're putting the umu down. Like, is the rocks hot enough? Do we have enough sacks? Do we have enough paper? You know, who's putting the baskets down? Are we putting it in a particular order? Is the meat going in at the bottom because that's cooking fastest and hardest to cook? Is the veggies at the top? All those sort of things when you put a umu down is what we kind of discuss around the umu. And then the uncles and yourself, you pile on the wet paper, the wet sacks, the banana leaf, what else that goes on? Some wet sheets sometimes. And then the mud and then the dirt, and you kind of press it down, and there's silence. There's a silence around the umu pit. But there's an unspoken rule that when a piece of steam comes up, and when you start to lose heat, someone with a spade will go over, put a bit of dirt on it, tap it down, and then go back and stand like this. Like, this is the stance like that. That's how you stand. Those who have grabbed the spade, that's how you stand. And so when we think of young people, we think about their process of cooking. What's cooking for them? You know, what are the sort of talents and what are sort of things we need to do with them? It's the business time of process. Now we have young leaders who we've identified potential skill sets, we identify what they love, what they're passionate about. Now it's time to get cooking. Now it's time to get the work done. This is the challenging time. This is the time where we encourage our young people to lean into the challenging times, because we know as leaders, there's some hard decisions you're going to have to make. So the conversation we're having with our young people is like, hey, how things are going, how you're navigating that, how you're navigating stuff with yourself internally, and how are things going internally? Are you navigating anger, peer pressure? Is that all going good? You know? And then that's where the conversations around social justice come in, advocacy. This is the time where we talk about how do you as a leader stick up for those less fortunate? Where's your sense of social justice to look after those around you? So during this time of cooking, during this time when the umu's cooking, this is where the work has to get done by young people. So when our young people walk through our door, these are the conversations I have, you know, like, hey, are you making these right decisions? Is your relationship going okay? Did you tell your parents you're here? Are you allowed to go there? And all these sort of discussions, all those difficult discussions our young people need to have to hold them accountable, responsible. And at this stage of cooking, this is where resilience is built. Our young people need resilience. Putting the hangi down, bringing the hangi up, we need to build our young people up so they're resilient when challenges come their way. What does resilience look like? Pulling on friends, asking for support, standing up against injustice, those sort of things. And then after that is karakia o te kai. And it's hakari time, it's celebrate, it's karakia o te kai. This is a time as young people we're encouraged to get together and reflect and build into them an idea of forever learning. So learning never ever stops. So when you're celebrating at hakari, when you're eating, you're talking about, especially when you're doing normal, you're kind of like, oh, is the meat all right? Did it come up all right? Did it burn? Is it not? Can we let it down a little bit more? There's readjustment, there's readaptation, there's flexibility, and there's an intuition to grow leaders that are forever learning. Because a great leader will take lessons and keep learning and learning. No great leader knows all the answers. And so that's where hakaris, where all the reflections, that's reflective practice, where hakari happens. And lastly, do the dishes. Essentially, do the dishes. So after that, you got to do the dishes, you got to clean up, you got to grab the tea towel, you got to grab the tea towel, not the imaginary one. You got to dry the actual cup, So that encourages our young people. We want to encourage our young people to do the dishes. We want to encourage our young people to get up, be responsible for themselves, show them independence, grab their peers up, make some changes, and do the dishes. And so encouraging them to leave a legacy, to build up, and tell them that now you're not a leader, you're the teacher. You're not just a leader now, you're a teacher. Who are you bringing up behind you? Who are you bringing up to the table? So now, you're not just a leader, you're a teacher. And these conversations I've had, and a lot of the boys here have had, that I've come with, we have with our young people, because we know these sort of discussions, these sort of ideas, discussions around feelings is really important to normalize that sort of attitude, because our stats are not changing too much when it comes to mental distress. So we need to build these new things that we never had when we were young. And lastly, I think my 10 minutes is up as well. This morning I was at a family group conference, hence I was late. For a 17-year-old whananga, he wants to take care of his 5-year-old sister. OT weren't letting him because he's 17. But when I sat next to him, the resolve, the confidence, and the courageous personality and manner he had to approach a subject with pride and hope is leadership that I've never seen before. I haven't had much time with him, but for me, those sort of qualities that he showed today was exemplary when it comes to leadership. I like to say that my one time with him at the movies gave him their skill set, but I don't know. But for me, that's on my heart now, because it's whānau, it's whananga, and for me, that's what youth leadership looks like to me. Before I leave, just like to acknowledge our team that came from my charity, Jack, Mikey and Dylan, and those who are not here, and especially my wife as well. I'll clap, right? Thank you for everyone, and I'll leave it at that. Kia ora.